Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to another Strike Spot live stream. I am Pathfinder, your community manager, and today we are joined by our general manager, Ryan Jacobson, to answer your questions live. That is right, we are live. Just in case anybody was wondering, I have been reading the glorious chat here so far. You're giving me too much praise, but welcome in, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off by passing it to RJ. RJ, how are you doing today?
Good. I think we're just here to talk about your mustache, it seems like, today.
Something along those lines.
This hour is going to be about.
Something along those lines.
I'm excited for it.
Well, we are almost done with Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is kind of wrapping up here soon. So I wanted to start off with what are your feelings about how Chapter 1 went? What are some things that you felt went well? What are some things that you felt could have been a little bit better that we can improve in Chapter 2? And then I would also ask chat, start filling your questions. We are watching your messages come in, but go ahead and
yeah, I think for Chapter 1, I think there's a lot of learnings that we're going to kind of pull forward, right, for kind of Chapter 2. Some of the stuff that I think went well was, like, say, all the existing legacy currencies and the conversion rate. There was no major hiccups there. That's always a positive. I think there's a lot that we learned around kind of the distribution of the legendary character, Quasar, and how that went in terms of kind of the yellow stars and kind of versus our goals and actually really achieving those goals. I think there's some work still we have to do on kind of the red star distribution and kind of improve that. So we'll see how that last Scourge does for us. And then I think the Intel shop, we're still working on kind of the seasonal currency and ensuring that we're kind of giving away what we really want to give away inside of a chapter. Right now we're a little under on where we would like to be in terms of kind of we have a total bag of goods. And we know that there's some areas that we have to improve because we want to distribute all of that seasonal currency out to the players. So we're going to continue to work on that because I think that's the biggest area of kind of improvement right now that we're seeing that we need to be making. But overall, I think it was a big swing, and I think we did a lot. I still want to see kind of the legacy shop come together. There's some quality of life improvements we want to make. But overall, I'm pretty thrilled that we were able to get it done because we asked the team to do this in a very short amount of time, and it was kind of all hands on deck, and we did a lot of work to kind of get it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and there's still quite a bit of changes coming, so I think that hopefully we get to talk about some of those today. I'm gonna move over to the chat here. I'll save some of my questions if they don't get asked. Shiri Tito, I think I pronounced that right, maybe I didn't. Is there going to be a Red Star store rework? I don't think so, is there?
No, not necessarily. I think we need to do some work to kind of the elite store and kind of do a better job of upkeep with kind of a lot of our epic and legendary characters and have kind of more in terms of like a playbook that we're running and operating off of so that the game and the community kind of really understands when something is going to be happening and coming, because I think sometimes we're not very clear on kind of when some of the stuff will come into the shop. But the Red Star shop, no, I don't think we have any plans on really doing anything with that right now.
Okay. We have some comments about the negative zone. That was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. So let's just dive right in. PL Castle talks about it. Caboose 84, I think, talks about it as well. How do you feel like the negative zone went, and what do you think we're going to do differently going forward?
Yeah, I think we actually talked a little bit about this yesterday. Overall, I think the concept of what we're trying to achieve is great, right? Which is give some puzzly, harder kind of problems for the players to solve. The execution, I think, is where we have to really work on it, right? Like at first when it came out and kind of the leaderboards being attached to it, asking players to do it 14 days in a row, it's not a great feeling, right? It should be some content that we leave up for a given amount of time. You as a player can go in there, get through it, get your rewards, be done with it, and if you want to go back, then you can, but not feel the pressure or the need to go back into that content daily. So yeah, I think there's a lot of learnings from the iterations of this kind of negative zone that we're gonna learn from and try and make it better the next time that comes out. But I would say, yeah, there's definitely reason for the critical feedback that we've been getting on it and kind of the way that the execution went out.
Yeah, for sure. I liked it at the beginning, and then when I had to start running it every day, it got a little more tedious than I think I would have liked it to be, at least as a player.
It definitely adds some time to the daily play for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's see here. We got some questions about U32 and Crucible rankings. I don't know if we necessarily know too much about that, but have you had any conversations with the team on rankings actually counting during those tournaments?
Yeah, it's one of the things that's kind of like hard-coded, quote unquote, into the game. It's one of the things we have talked about and discussing and pulling it out. Because when you are in kind of a tournament, whether that's a 32-person, 16-person tournament, it shouldn't impact your rankings in the leagues for kind of moving forward. So that is like a quality of life improvement that I'll follow up on and see where it's at. But yeah, I would agree that it shouldn't impact the rankings, the overall rankings.
Okay. Do we have any plans to make it easier to get costumes, Jammer asks. That is something I would like to know as well, especially the Doctor Strange costume.
There's a few of them. Yeah, this has been a conversation I've been having with some of our team members, really starting in Q4, and actually was pinging some people about this 2 days ago. So hopefully we can share an update really soon. But yes, we're well aware that there are some costumes that a large, significant portion of the community has not had access to, that would like access to those. And so we are going to make sure that there's access to those costumes.
Okay, cool.
Pretty soon. It is on the horizon.
I've been trying to get Stark for the chat to let me send a costume from the PX team, but I haven't got it approved yet. So maybe we can do that.
Is that like you're requesting it right now? So you're kind of like saying, hey.
No, I mean I've requested it before, but I'll request it again.
Let's do it.
Let's see here. Well, Beta Ray Bill says kudos to all the changes to the new player experience, and I think there's still changes to be made there as well, right? I mean, we're always looking at that. Do you have anything regarding that at all?
Yeah, I think the main thing we know we need to work on is the shop credits, right?
Yep.
As we rolled all of these changes out really rapidly, it was one of those things that was brought up, and it was going to impact a lot of mid-funnel players, early new players, reactivated players coming back to the game. So we want to give those player shop credits because we really don't want them using their seasonal currency and what we kind of call kitchen sink resources. So that is an active thing that we're working on that hopefully will go out pretty soon, and kind of how are we going to start to distribute more of those credits so that those players can have better access to it. But it's something we're well aware of that we need to tackle.
Cool. Well, we have some questions about the Thing and Human Torch having events for diamonds. I don't know if necessarily diamonds are in there, and you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, if you know. But we do have a big event coming up in the near future with big Fantastic Four theming that I'm really excited about, and we'll definitely be doing a blog and all sorts of different in-game events around that. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
you
super excited for it.
know much about that we can share?
I mean, you kind of already said the majority. I think there's a brand new environment, though, that's going into the game, right, that we're excited about, that revolves around the Fantastic Four and kind of the MCU beat. But yeah, I would say the whole month of July is going to be really heavily revolving around the Fantastic Four. And I think there's content that we're trying to make sure is more towards kind of the end game players. And then there's going to be some great content for kind of the players who are coming back or just coming into the game for the first time with kind of the existing Fantastic Four.
Yep, and I know that the Thing and Human Torch got some costumes, so hopefully we can get those out as well. Let's see here. Sacred, one of our mods, says, can the Battle World store be moved to next to the Crucible store? It's annoying to have to constantly slide over to it. I think we might have a little bit of news about the Battle World store and what we're thinking about doing with that, at least. Not concrete plans, but
Yeah.
we could probably share a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely not concrete plans. We've been starting to discuss if we want to consolidate that down. We just have to think more about the potential long-term impact, because as this first iteration of Battle World concludes, there will be players who have not maxed out Null, or again, reactivated players or newer players coming in, and we want to give them the ability to still hopefully fight Null, but also those shards. And right now, those shards were potentially going to go into the Battle World shop. So if we do consolidate it down into kind of what we would say is a legacy shop, we don't necessarily want players to have to spend the seasonal currency potentially on those shards. So there's still some debate on what we do with it. But I do think that we are thinking about, do we want to consolidate that shop as well and kind of deprecate it out and push it back into kind of the other legacy shops?
Yeah, and I think to add to that a little bit, we've also have some plans, not necessarily at the beginning of Chapter 2, but sometime later on in Chapter 2 to have that kind of first V1 of the legacy shop, right? Do we want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, we've been doing a lot to try and get this kind of new age and the kind of the framework set up, but we knew that the work around the legacy shop is a lot more than we expected at first go, just because there's so many things that we have to consider in terms of kind of the UI, the UX, how are we going to present all of these things to our players, and really trying to find a better way of consolidating it, right? Because if you just went in and you're scrolling for forever for any of these random items that you might want, that would not be a great experience. So yeah, it's something that we had hoped we could get out a little bit sooner than it's going to come out, but you're right, it's going to come out sometime in Chapter 2. We're just starting to really dig our heels in there and kind of understanding kind of what that UI, UX is going to look like and how it's going to feel. Because there's just so many things that we have to consider, because there's so many characters in there, there's so many resources in there, to make it a great kind of experience for our players.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a nice experience. So, let's see here. Drake says, if we have suggestions for the game, who do we send them to, since we don't get any replies back from customer support? Well, you can join our Discord. Our Discord is always active, and myself and Lori and Strike Fox and Stark are there to support any of that. So definitely come over there. I'll also give a plug that we're currently doing a giveaway for some of our commanders to get 25 Invisible Woman shards. So make sure to go there, discord.gg/Marvel Strike Force, and join us on Discord. Love how these are pre-recorded and not live. Well, Ilu Kali, I'm sad to say that we are live. That's rough. Let's see. Is there going to be updates to the costume store at all in Chapter 2? We kind of talked about costumes, wanting to get them out more, but the costume shop isn't something we're going away. That's not going away right now.
That's more of what I was kind of talking about. We're putting some time, energy into kind of how do we revitalize that shop, and then how do we consistently kind of live operate it. Right now, we know we haven't updated it. God, I don't even remember the last time it was updated. It's been a long time. But yeah, we'll be updating it soon.
Okay. Let's see, another question from Beta Ray Bill talking about releasing content that might require teams that aren't even out yet. Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, it's something we've been talking about with the team internally, because we create kind of loops around, say, a Cosmic Crucible team or an Arena team. And then we, of course, want you to engage in that core mode, but we're asking you to do it prior to all of those characters being out. And so it is kind of this weird situation that we put our players into. And so, yeah, it's one of the things that we are looking to adjust moving forward, so that it can kind of be better in terms of what we're asking our players to do. But also, I think we want to try and provide more freedom for players to kind of play the way that they would like to play, but still earning kind of getting through daily objectives to earn kind of the seasonal currency or other rewards inside of events. But yeah, we're well aware that that's something we need to work on and correct.
Okay, well, Hal No 2018 says, will we ever get new challenges added? So Gold Challenge, the Training Mat Challenge, is that something we have?
We don't have that on the horizon. It has been brought up a few times. I think the last time I heard about this was when we had the Envoys here for the Envoy Summit. It's work that we could do. We just don't think it's super valuable to kind of the players in terms of you just go do it once and then it's just, again, a reward. So we have looked at trying to push more gold into the economy to kind of suffice what those were doing in the past. But right now, no, there's no necessarily like work ahead of us where we're saying we're going to add more to the challenges.
Okay. Let's see. Diamonds for Captain Britain, how much longer? I know that there was actually some discussion around that very recently. So I hope that we have some news to share.
Yeah, he'll be coming to the shop soon. Like I was saying a second ago, I think there's a few characters that we need to start putting into the shop and have just been in kind of this weird hibernation period for too long. And so we are actively working on that stuff. So yeah, he'll be there soon.
Okay, here's a funny one. Since Pathfinder's coming to the game now as Reed Richards, is there any plans to add you, RJ, as a character?
I don't even know who I would be.
Who would you want to be?
I don't know. I mean, all of the characters I love are already in the game or coming into the game shortly, and I don't think I would necessarily want to look like any of them, to be honest with you. But yeah, you're going into the game. We have one of our lead designers, Max, is already in the game. There's some people on the team that are already in the game.
I know who Matt would want to be, but that's never going to happen.
Yeah, there's not too many like bearded Marvel characters unless you like doing, different takes on certain characters, like even Reed Richards or Captain
we could have
America.
like a Captain America in game,
Yeah.
where he's got those like claws.
Yeah, the two. Yeah.
He's got the full beard.
Yeah.
That could work.
The Nomad version.
Yeah, the Nomad version. Let's see here. Stephen asks, how will the end of chapter work with the Intel store? Will we continue to get Intel currency up until the chapter's timer ends? That's a really good question.
Yeah, you will still get Intel currency will eventually be shut off, and it will transition into kind of the chapter 2 currency, and we're going to start preceding that currency before chapter 2 shop goes up, so that you're starting to earn or accumulate the chapter 2 currency. So I don't know the exact date on when the chapter 1 or the Intel currency will be shut off, but we're going to start to precede people with the chapter 2 currency before the chapter 2 actually starts.
Okay, cool. And we'll make sure to, at least on our channels, Discord, and our social channels, to kind of give you some updates on, when chapter 2 is more closely approaching in the coming weeks. We're going to put reminders of, if you don't want your currency to convert, make sure to spend it before that ends. And I think this is just another reminder to make sure that you are using that currency on some of the really good stuff that's in there right now before things turn over.
Yeah, I would definitely highly recommend you spend those balances before.
Do we know what the next currency is going to be called that we can share?
We do. I don't want to necessarily spoil it because I spoil everything, and I also don't know if it's been officially Marvel approved yet. But yeah, there is.
Okay. We'll wait then.
We do know what we want to call it.
Maybe we can spoil some other things soon, depending on what it is. Let's see here. Are you going back on your commitment to lessen phone time when you're running multiple modes on holidays, forcing people to play negative zone? What do you think about that?
I think we always look at screen time. We're always checking in kind of terms of what we're asking the players to do. I would say that sometimes the amount of content that we have up at a given time, even with something like negative zone, right, and how it can kind of really impact your playtime, is something that we keep a close eye on, because we aren't trying to add more playtime into the game. We're actually trying to always be very thoughtful of, if we put into Danger Room, how do we lessen the requirements for some of the other stuff. But I think sometimes with certain modes that are up at the same time as some of the kind of limited time content, it puts a little bit more pressure on our players to kind of play more. And so, yeah, it is something that we're constantly looking at and trying to figure out how do we adjust as needed so that we're not adding a ton of additional playtime to people.
Yeah, and I do think that we want it to be like quality playtime.
Yes.
That may not necessarily always hit the exact way that we're wanting it to, but we do want it to be more quality time versus quantity.
And I think, my personal opinion, if you look at a lot of the content, again, like negative zone execution-wise, I definitely think we could we know what we need to clean up and do differently. But I would say that type of content, if you play it at your own kind of pace and get through it and get the rewards, I think is good content. And so I do agree with you that what we're trying to really focus on is the quality of the content that we're trying to put in the player's hands.
Okay. Will there be enough new player currency to get Harbinger tunes? I'm not sure exactly what that question is asking, but I'll kind of form it into my own question. What do you think the timeline is on when the chapter ends? Some of that stuff going to the legacy shops, or to become the community's term is farmable. I think our term might be a different term, but farmable.
Yeah, as the chapter 1 shop concludes, a lot of the items that are in that shop will move over into the legacy shop. And as the chapter 2 shop comes in, it will start to be stocked with new items. Of course, there will be some items that will remain from the chapter 1 shop inside of the chapter 2 shop, but a majority of the kind of characters, or tunes as the community calls them, will move over into the legacy shop.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think we're talking, like G20 or diamonds on latest characters, but I think
those are on their kind of normal timers. But Gear Tier 20 will stay inside of the chapter 2 shop, but a lot of those Harbinger characters will start to move over into the legacy shop.
Lord Richter, will we be reworking Magneto and Doom, as the community has been asking for this? It's a large question.
That is. Reworks as a whole, we're trying to really revisit a lot of the higher affinity characters and find ways to rework them. I would say, the way our character pipelines work, everything for this year is pretty much set in stone, just because of the approvals, what we have to do with kind of the animations, the rigging, the VFX, the tuning, the balance, everything is pretty much set. I would say next year we're going to try and lean very heavily on reworks and a lot of the higher affinity characters. I would say Doom, I don't know if we're going to rework Doom. Magneto, same. I would love to put different versions of those characters into the game. But we can take it back to the team. But I would say legendary characters, a little bit more tricky, but we definitely do want to do some stuff with a lot of characters next year for sure.
Okay. Let's see. Big Positive Geek asks about kind of the character event cadence, Path to Orbs kind of being a little bit less. I think we also, probably talk about how Intel gives you more access to characters sooner than ever before, but what's kind of the take there on, character event releases as well as those Path to Orbs that we did?
Yeah, we're trying to find a balance there. We have had discussions internally about the Path to Orbs. We're going to probably pick a character or two per month that those will definitely have in. But as you kind of commented on, we've really tried to change the way that players are able to access characters that they really want with the shop, and kind of how quickly they go into the shop and how much currency we know we're giving out, that you can start to really buy a lot of those characters that you're choosing to buy. But there will always be kind of, we're always discussing kind of the value of the Path to Orbs and how do we want to utilize this.
Okay, got a couple questions about Battle World. So we'll start with Thunder with a bunch of Z's. I don't know how many there is. I can't see it. TV's too far away. When is the next Battle World coming? Maybe like the next Battle World boss. When is the next Battle World coming up?
We want it to be in September. It might get pushed out a little bit just due to kind of bandwidth and some things that we would like to see with Battle World before that comes out. We would like to also probably make some even bigger changes to Battle World once the third iteration runs, which will probably be sometime in Q1, Q2 of next year. But it's going to be Sentry. Sentry's going to be coming into the game. The hope would be around September-ish, but it also could be pushed out a little bit.
Okay. And then another question here from Beta Ray Bill, with Battle World moving to Sentry, what are the plans for players to gain access to Null. And I think that might be a little up in the air, but we talked a little bit about that. We can kind of do another
Yeah,
round
we
of
talked
that for people to join.
about it a second ago. I would say there's two ways that you potentially will be able to earn shards of Null in some shop, right? If that's Battle World shop, if that's the kind of seasonal shop, somewhere he may live. I would prefer that you don't necessarily just go off and spend some currency on earning Null. So there's also some discussions around, can we make just a playable kind of content that maybe we put inside of the kind of sagas section or the epic campaigns, and basically you go in and fight Null, and that's how a newer player or a reactivated player or someone who didn't max out Null could earn those shards. But yeah, we don't want to lose that fight with Null, and that's kind of why you are earning Null. So that's kind of the hope. But we are definitely figuring out a way to make it so that you will still be able to play that content and earn his shards.
Yeah. Well, Asaz asks about the legacy shops being consolidated. We did touch on that a little bit. We can revisit that here at some point, and in the coming months, we are going to do like a V1 of a new legacy shop. So that will be coming. We'll have more info on that sometime in the near future. Let's see. In Barone asks, any new variations of war coming into the game? Suggests a 1-hour war rush. That's interesting.
Well, that's
don't know if that's going to happen. But.
That is interesting, depending on like the time that you would pick to do it, right?
True.
Yeah, there's some big updates coming to war. A multitude of them that we're going to be working with kind of the player council, our content creators, a lot of our super engaged players, to ensure that when we push them out, everyone is happy with kind of the direction that we're taking war. But war is one of the game modes that really starting in Q4 we saw we needed to make some changes to it just because of what it was doing to some of the alliances and kind of creating a lot of disruption in the game. And so we do have some pretty big plans on updating war this year.
And Gotson asks about a roadmap for next year. I don't know about next year, but I think we might have a roadmap very soon for this year. But I don't know if we're going to be able to talk about that super soon or not, but we are definitely working on one.
Yeah, we have a roadmap internally that goes through next year. But yeah, I would say there's some stuff I know you guys would like to share and kind of show. So we are definitely, hopefully, can share some of that with the community.
Yeah, I would
today.
love to be able to share that. Let's see here. When will Red Stars be back for Professor X? MC Ciortis asks.
That's a good one. I don't have the exact date, but I know that the live ops team is constantly repopping a lot of these things. So yeah, we could follow up with kind of the community on the exact dates, but there is, I know, plans in place for how they want to use him.
Let's see here. Will Sentry introduce a better Thunderbolts rework? I mean, the first thing I'll say is we did do a vote for the Thunderbolts. So we did let the community decide on what to do there. But it's an interesting question about Sentry. Is he going to have specific tags, or is he going to be more like Null, where you can kind of plug and play?
He's going to be more free.
Free.
I mean, I understand why they would connect it because of the MCU, but Sentry isn't necessarily really kind of Thunderbolts character. So yeah, he'll be more akin to kind of Null, where he'll float around.
Okay. Well, some of these names are really hard to pronounce, so I'm just going to do the second part of the name. Beltroy asks about Cataclysms. Will there be Cataclysms coming back? They were really hard challenges, but it's nice to just have a fun mix for some of those harder Cataclysms. Is that something that we're looking at?
Yeah, we are always trying to balance kind of the content that we're putting into the game, and I think there's there's different sides of the player population and how they feel about Cataclysms. That's why we try and really not attach rewards to them, right? So it's more for if you want a challenging kind of puzzle to solve, you have that content, and maybe there's some kind of vanity items attached to it. But yeah, we always try and bring some of those things back up. So like even yesterday, we were talking about a lot of content that we want to be putting into the game in the next couple of months, and that was one of the things that did come up.
Okay. Let's see here. Why not take advantage on tournament-style game modes and host a bigger CC tournament?
Yeah, I would love to do bigger ones. It's just the kind of the effort in terms of development time for us to be able to continually expand it. I would love to like do 64 or larger. So it is one of those things that when we have time, we always kind of go back and revisit, can we do a bigger tournament?
And I think something we're at least starting to look at doing is potentially having like a player versus dev style for a tournament. I think that would be pretty fun to do. Let's see. King BMF talks about preloaded turn meter and PvE content. I will definitely say if you're talking about the danger zone, we'll again reiterate that there is no preloaded turn meter in the danger zone. But I think that, going back to, we could go back to like the Frozen Dimension was the last time I remember. I think we learned a lot of lessons on not doing preloaded turn meter.
That content, just to put it simply, was just not fun, right? And that's not what we're trying to deliver to the players. But yeah, you're absolutely right. For if players still believe that those are in Danger Room, that's not the case. It's the kits.
There are some very difficult nodes, though.
Yes.
But anytime I see a Nightcrawler, I kind of wince a little bit.
That's the challenge we want, right? And with Danger Room, you're gonna go back into it. That's the hope, right?
We have some people talking about when are we going to learn about the next reworks, the next team. I think you're going to learn about that very, very soon. We're still kind of in smack dab in the middle of Fantastic Four, though. I mean, we'll have some news for you. We'll have some info. Maybe we'll even spoil something. I don't know. Let's see here. When will we have more reliable access to G20? That's an interesting question. I think, maybe we could even just talk about the general, like, new gear tier comes out or a new, power vector comes out. Like, what do we kind of think about in terms of, like, the exclusivity and then everyone else kind of getting access to that, or more players getting access to that over
Yeah,
time?
we model everything out. So it's basically a kind of distribution model that you look at kind of in terms of the saturation, the inflows, the outflows, how much are we giving away, where are we giving it away, at what times. So Gear Tier 20 has been mapped out, and I think like for access, right, that's one of the things we tried to really put into the shop that we think's of great value to the players. And I think as over time, you'll start to see more of those come into kind of rewards, and event milestones, et cetera. But yeah, right now it's part of the plan of kind of the distribution that we're giving out right now.
Okay. Well, Fly High asks for in-game players. I would say for all players, are we going to be updating rewards for Raids, War, and Crucible? And we kind of already hit on the challenges a little bit, but Raid, War, Crucible, kind of the main game modes.
Yes, that's a conversation I was actually having with some people yesterday. I think that there is a need to start to slowly figure out which ones we want to update first and then go to the second and the third and so forth. But yeah, I would say there's probably going to be some updates to some of the core modes and some of the rewards and maybe even some really nice chase items that we haven't done in a long time that we could put into some of those lanes, like some characters as an example, where we did that with Quicksilver, with Cosmic Crucible. I'd like to revisit that so that there are kind of, some really great reasons to go in and play some of those core lanes again.
Awesome. We keep getting a bunch of comments on mustaches and beards. We must be doing something right, RJ.
Well, you have the stash, man.
That is true. I've got a funny story about that, but maybe that's not for today. Well, as I keep looking at a lot of these messages that are coming in, I will do another reminder. Make sure to come and join our Discord, discord.gg/MarvelStrikeForce. We currently have a giveaway going on for 25 Invisible Woman shards for a few lucky winners in the community. We also have codes that are given away on there every single week. and you'll see those there first. So make sure to join the Discord and start joining in on the conversation. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Pathfinder will come to MSF as an original MSF tune. I would love that. We need to make that happen. Well, we can talk to Marvel about that, right, RJ?
Let's do it. I'll set up a meeting today.
Too many comments about mustaches right now, guys. I can't handle it. Let's see here. Sheriff Lobo asks, can we get Crossbones a rework?
It's funny you say that. Crossbones is actually like one of the characters I love in kind of the comic books. And when I first joined the team, I saw he was like, one of the first kind of villains that you get. And then I was kind of bummed out that, he didn't live up to kind of what Crossbones can be inside of the comic books. So, maybe we can revisit Crossbones as we look at a lot of those reworks that I was talking about that we'll be doing.
Listen, at the beginning of the game, Crossbones was a baller.
Yeah.
You would just be hoping that you could kill him before he does his big boom.
But not, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
later.
no.
Later when everything has moved on.
No,
right?
he needs a rework for sure. Let's see. What about the war changes? We talked a little bit about that. We are definitely actively, I think, looking at war and making changes there, which I'm really excited about because I love war. Let's see.
One of the things I don't think we touched on with war too, we are planning on removing the 3D helicarrier, which I don't know how many people actually know.
Do you want to share about it? Let's do it.
You want to spin it, but yeah, I think we're going to change that into kind of a 2D asset, and that will actually help our players get into war much quicker than they are today. So I think we're always looking at kind of those quality of life improvements as well. The 3D helicarrier is really cool, but also I'd prefer getting into war much sooner.
That loading screen does take quite a bit of time.
You're waiting for that asset to load.
So that is interesting here. Let's see here. Can we share any info about Chapter 2 or any other chase characters that might be coming soon? I don't think that we're going to share anything today on the next legendary character, but we worked on some videos yesterday. I can tell you that, and we'll have some videos coming soon. So
on that. Stay quiet. That's what you're saying.
We'll stay quiet on this for now, since the video is so soon.
Okay.
But we will definitely let you know very, very soon about what's coming in Chapter 2. Let's see here. Is there going to be a mutant raid team? Maybe. Who knows?
There is a new mutant team on the kind of roadmap. I believe they will be here. Yeah, this year. So there will be a new mutant team.
Yeah, I think there will be. That'd be cool. We'll talk about costumes again. We definitely have that on the docket to do, especially that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness costume. I did see some other people talking about the new Fantastic Four costumes. I think those are going to be also available to our players soon as a part of this big Fantastic Four event that we're going to have. Here we go, Star Fox. Something about the game being linked to Discord. Is this still happening? That's a great question.
Yeah, 1,000% it's still happening. It's going to be pretty soon. Team's been hard at work with the great people over at Discord to try and bring this over. We're the first mobile game, so there's just kind of always back and forth with the developers around kind of the SDK and how do we get it into the game. But yeah, it's one of the things we're really excited about because I think, a lot of us use Discord in some way, shape, or form. It's a great platform, and being able to kind of integrate it into the game directly so that we can give, especially a lot of those like deeply engaged alliances, more tools at their disposal. It's something we're really excited about. So yeah, that's one of the partnerships I'm really pumped up for.
Okay, Silencer asks about a null, some sort of calendar because we're gonna be 25 shards short of null soon. I think that just in general, we're trying to get null at least 7 stars into players' hands quicker. That's why we've
Yep.
been running more
Yep.
of these battle worlds. So I don't necessarily know if we'll do a calendar, but I do know that we're looking at, wanting to make sure that people do get their 7-star null as quickly as possible.
That's correct. Yeah, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think even on this run, some players will be able to get him to 7 stars. The thing with calendars I don't really love is that you're not really engaging with null, and it's just kind of like
Right.
you're earning the shards where, for better or worse, how people feel about Battle World, I think one of the things I really enjoy about it is seeing null and fighting null and
Yeah.
the environment. And so I don't love that sometimes we give away his shards. I prefer that we kind of run Battle World at a more frequent cadence.
Okay, well, Dorky Dad asks a good question here, so I'm going to read through this as quick as possible. What's the team's main development focus? War, Battle World, New Danger Rooms, and what are we most excited about heading into the later quarters of the year? So what's the main focus? I think it's really all of them, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, Dorky kind of called out everything that we are doing, which is we're looking at updating Battle World. That's going to be kind of some smaller tweaks for the next one that runs. Then we're going to continually put more development time into that one until we get it to really do what we would like it to do, and not necessarily be an event, but rather kind of content that's always out there. Danger Room is something we're always constantly pushing more development time into. There's some quality of life potential improvements that we're also looking to make there. We are updating War, we're updating Raids, so a lot of the core kind of lanes. And then I would say later on in the year, we're going to start to put a lot more development time into some social features. And that's where I would say like probably a lot of our development time will even just eat up into 2026.
Are there any teams that you would like to bring to the game that haven't arrived yet?
That's a great question. Yes, and there are always sometimes limitations on our Marvel partner side that we can't use some of the verbiage that we would like to use, but I would say there's a lot of really exciting characters that are coming into the game. But teams, it's a little bit trickier, and I would say like, yeah, there's still a couple that will be coming into the game sometime that I get pumped up for.
I know for me, I always just want more Hulks. So if we can have more Hulks, that would be great. That's a plug for you if you didn't know. Let's see here from Vadra. Anything on the horizon to stop infinite fights, specifically talking about Astral and Battle World? And I do think we have some plans for that.
Yeah, there's probably, in some way, shape, or form, we'll put a timer attached to it. Not the best solve, but I would say just because of the complexity around our characters, you're probably always going to be able to find some random edge case where a combat's going to persist for too long. So yeah, we definitely don't want that to happen. So yeah, that is one of the things we're going to actively work on and fix.
Talk about the community vote having a redo to not be Zombie Kestrel. I'm hard pass on that. I'm loving that we're going to have a Zombie Kestrel.
It looks rad too. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen the concept art. It looks really good.
Matt's keeping stuff from me. Let's see here. With G20 staying in the current season shop, will we get more ready access to the orbs as well? We talked a little bit about a raid update, so maybe we'll have more access there.
Yeah.
Rework Sinister. Oh man, I had a long conversation with Matt yesterday about that. Would love for that to happen as well.
And I bet you Matt was very opposed to a rework with Sinister.
I think he might have been. Let's see here. Any quality of life upgrades being worked on that we can share? Dorky specifically calls out a lose button in War or Crucible or any other quality of life.
One of the ones that I know that some of the community have been asking for a while now that we're working on is being able to visualize when a player has awakened abilities attached to them, right? Because that's something that when you're going in certain matches, that information is pretty valuable and we're not really giving it to the players right now. So that is one of the things that we're working on. But there's a slew of quality of life improvements that we have in our backlog that we're just always slowly chipping away at.
Yeah, and I know, I've been talking to Jose as well on some of the Danger Room UI updates as well. Those look pretty rad as well. Make Gamma great again? I agree. Make Gamma great again. Let's see.
We can look into the lose one too. I see it popping up a lot in chat.
Characters in the shop doesn't feel like an option with the limited intel and need for G20 minis. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what our plans are about the seasonal currency, what we want to do there for people that may have just joined?
Yeah, I think it comes down to kind of truly engagement, right? We're giving away a lot, and we've mapped everything out in terms of if a character max spends only on gear tier 20, what are they walking away with? If they're only buying shards, if they're buying a mix of things, there's a lot that we're doing. So I would say for those players who feel like they're not getting a lot, I would tell them to really look at kind of how are they playing, how are they hitting their milestones, are they engaging with all the core modes daily? If so, then you should have a pretty nice balance in terms of the seasonal currency and being able to really be able to buy the majority of items that you should want access to.
Definitely. Let's see. Most def, will there be a VOD of the stream? Yes, there will be a VOD, and we will also put it up on YouTube as well. Let's see here. What about Gear 20 coming to the gold store? Is that going to happen anytime soon, or are we going to keep that in the seasonal shop?
That's going to be in the seasonal shop.
Why doesn't Null have the mythic tag? That's a good question.
Yeah, this was actually a debate we had when we were doing Battle Worlds. We didn't want to give them the mythical tag because Battle World will have at least hopefully 2 bosses per year, and we felt like with also the normal mythical characters that we're putting into the game, it would just be potentially 4 or more per year. So we've agreed that like they would never get the mythic tag.
Let's see. Is there a thought to add kind of similar to what we did in the Professor Xavier, saga missions where we had the big boss? Is there any plans to add that to like the Danger Room boss or other content upcoming?
Yep. Yeah, we definitely want to put those kinds of fights into various different modes, even say like towers, wherever. So it is one of the things that we're trying to figure out how do we do that. But yeah.
All right, trying to catch up here. Love the most recent iteration of the Danger Room because I actually had a lot of those characters leveled up. I don't know, I think you're talking about the X-Men one. Is there any plans to run similar events with X-Men again? X-Men again, yes, I believe so. And even possibly other tags.
Yeah, I think Danger Room, why we loved the idea of it is because it gave us so much flexibility in terms of being able to bring a lot of the older characters in there and do some really fun things with a lot of the mods that the team has been always putting in there. So yeah, it's always going to be something we're going to look on, kind of how do we continue to add to the depth of that mode. Okay, well, I did just get word that we do have a roadmap that we can share. So if we can pull that up, and I will do my best to get my mouse to work so we can go and look at it as well. But we do have a roadmap to share, so let's go ahead and pull that up, give everybody a chance to look at it. Do we have that pulled up now? Okay, cool. We're literally catching up right now on the stream. I'm like, what are we watching?
That's actually we're watching ourselves. We're watching ourselves right now.
I don't like this.
That's how you know it's live. How far are we behind? We're like a good 10 seconds behind. But let's talk about the roadmap. We kind of know what's on it. So let's just start.
I hope so.
Yeah. let's just start with some of the things that are on there. We talked a little bit about Discord.
Yep.
And then we also talked about War, and we've also talked a little bit about Battle World. We also have some character upgrades that we're going to be doing sometime in the near future. So you want to talk a little bit about what that entails?
Which part of it do you want to talk about?
I think we'll talk about the purple stuff.
The purple stuff. Oh, we're talking about ISO.
Yeah.
Yes, purple ISO. Probably 4 and 5 will be coming out sometime. I would say probably late Q3, early Q4. But yeah, we're going to be putting some more ISO into the game real soon.
Okay, and then we do talk about Chapter 2. There's a bit of a spoiler there. Maybe people will recognize them, but we're still gonna wait on that one.
Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. We have a new raid coming. Confirmed that we do have a new raid coming to the game. So there are going to be some raid teams on the horizon, which I'm really excited for.
New raid August, I believe.
How soon in August?
I don't know the exact date, but yeah, August.
And then we talk about the cross-platform connection. We're just talking about Discord there, right?
That's correct.
And then, yeah, there's War 2.0. There's a lot of stuff coming in Q3 and Q4. I think one of the big things that isn't actually on there is we are planning a lot of quality of life improvements over the next 6 months, which is going to be a nice little thing for different parts of the game.
Yeah. We're trying to set more and more of our development time aside so that developers can focus on some of those quality of life improvements and name your random game mode, random screen, even getting players into those modes quicker, as we kind of talked a little bit about. But a lot of that stuff, yeah, there's a lot of quality of life stuff going on right now.
And as we kind of get closer to our wrap-up time here, I do want to let you know we do have a promo code for your time here today. You will get a version of that first before anybody else, before it goes on our Discord. But go to marvelstrikeforce.com in the player gift section, and the promo code is Chapter 2 is here. That is with the number 2, not with the word 2. So Chapter 2 is here. Make sure that it's in all caps and go to marvelstrikeforce.com in the player gift section, and you can redeem that code. As we kind of wrap up here, what's kind of your final thoughts, your thing that you want to say to the community as we look forward to Chapter 2 and beyond?
I think that we kind of talked a little bit about it to start the call. I would say that this new framework we're going to constantly continue to tweak until we see it doing what we really would like it to do. But I think it's great for the game and kind of the longevity of the game and where we want to take it. Besides that, I mean, I've been told numerous times not to spoil too much, so I won't spoil too much. I'd say the other thing that we haven't talked about in the community or Strike Spots or anywhere is we're going to be doing a web playable. So that will be coming to the game soonish. There's no exact dates attached to it, but we've been hard at work at that, and that's something we're really excited about.
Well, I was not expecting that to happen, but that's awesome.
Yeah, so you'll be able to go to msf.gg and be able to play the game there. We want to kind of create a really holistic experience for all of our players on web, and so that's one of the things we know has been missing, so we're really excited about that.
Have you gotten in there at all?
Yes.
Have you played it?
Yes, I have a little bit.
What'd you think? Do you like it?
It's the game on web. So yeah, it's fun.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I won't play it during work too much, but
well, some of your job is to play the game.
Well, I mean,
right?
that's fair, but I don't want to have it up at all times. That would be bad. But yeah, web playable is coming. That is awesome. New characters are coming as always. We have a new raid coming. Lots of stuff happening over the next 6 months and beyond in Marvel Strike Force. We will, of course, also share the roadmap that we shared with you today on our Discord as well, so we'll make sure to get that out there for all of you. But let's see here. Any other questions before we wrap up? Can we get more rooms in Cosmic Crucible? I would absolutely love that. Could we get more rooms in Cosmic Crucible?
This is also like a conversation around war too. The long and short answer is yes, I would love for that. I think that based off of where alliances are, depending on how competitive you are, even as a player, right? If you're talking about kind of Cosmic Crucible, we need to find a way where if you want more rooms, you could have more rooms, but if you don't want more rooms, we're not forcing it on you,
Right.
Especially a newer player who maybe doesn't have a roster that actually could go for however many rooms we would potentially put in there. So it is something that we're always trying to figure out, like, how do we manage both sides?
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I will give one more plug. Make sure to come to Marvel Strike, discord.gg/Marvel Strike Force. You will see the promo code that we had there today. You'll also get a hands-on view at the roadmap that we shared today, plus all sorts of other things that are happening. RJ, thanks so much for doing this. This is the second one. I think they're only going to get better.
They're a lot of fun. So
I like it.
Next time, though, I need a clean-shaven version of you, and then just see how they just riot.
If I had a clean-shaven version, I don't think anybody would like that, including my wife. But
Well, we don't want to upset her.
Yeah, definitely not. But thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you on the next episode of Strike Spot, which is coming very, very soon. Have a great day.